Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing to you Undertale for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game has been out on the PC for quite a while, and only just recently came to the Nintendo Switch. And a lot of people have expressed to me when they wanted me to play it, like, oh, you should know as little as possible before going in. And so I respect people that have that opinion of Undertale, that sometimes don't even want the genre to be expressed. Well, unfortunately, in a review, I kind of have to give you at least a little bit of information. But I will try to keep this as vague as possible in case you really want to have as little surprises as you can imagine. So first off, the easiest comparison to make right off the bat is that Undertale, for the most part, plays a lot like Earthbound. Now, I haven't actually played Earthbound, but I've seen footage of it, and so I know the general gist of how it operates. You move in a top-down perspective, and then the enemy encounters are random, and you have 4 basic options when you're fighting. If you choose the fight option, then you have a needle that moves across this progress bar, for lack of a better word. I don't really play much of these types of RPGs, but you try to hit it as close to the middle as possible, kind of like a golf simulator, and then that determines how much attack you'll be able to give the enemy. Then there's Act, which of course has different actions depending on which enemy you're fighting. Like, say if you're fighting a giant carrot, you can pat your stomach and say that you're hungry, because, you eat carrots. So it's very situational. Then there's also the item option, which lets you heal yourself or equip a new weapon or armor piece. Surprisingly, I thought there would be more instances where I'd have to give an item to an enemy, but this game doesn't want you to do that. Instead, they want you to talk or act your way through the situation if you're not going to use just outright brute force. The final option you have is Mercy, and there you have 2 options. You can either flee from the battle if it's a normal enemy. This doesn't always work, there are some mandatory boss battles here and there. Or you can spare the enemy. However, you can only spare the enemy if their name is in yellow when you check them. So you often have to create certain types of conditions in order for the enemy to be spared. And this changes depending on the enemy. And you can even spare the bosses if you know what you're doing. Granted, there are pros and cons depending on how you want to play the game, because the more you kill, the more EXP you earn. But the more you have mercy, maybe you'll get more allies. The game also has multiple endings, and so the replay value of this game is staggeringly incredible. Thankfully, this game is also really short. If you know what you're doing, you should be able to beat it in about 2 to 3 hours, maybe more like 10 if you don't know what you're doing and are wandering around. So if you've got the time investment, it's pretty easy to say, I think I'm going to get this ending, and be able to get to it fairly quickly, especially if you're the type that's used to games like 999 and are willing to write down a lot of the solutions to the puzzles so that you can proceed quicker. So, the one major gripe I have about this game, again without trying to spoil too much, is that grinding for money or things that I need to proceed through a difficult situation was often very tedious. Now, granted, it's not tedious in the same way as most RPGs, in the fact that you don't really need to, go to the ends of the earth to try to stock up, but if I even try to get just a little bit of maybe more healing items, then your character doesn't have a run button, and there are very, very few options of fast travel in this game. Like, so few, I think there's only 1 or 2 in the entire game. And so, as a result, everything moves very, very, very slowly. And sometimes it's so tedious that I would often just brute force my way past some situations, even if it wasn't the best thing to do. Undertale's the type of game that can be beaten if you know what you're doing. Like, it's possible to go through the entire game and not take damage if you really know what you're doing. There's a lot of freedom in the playstyle here. Now, Undertale's also the type of game where if you're just gonna skip through all of the dialogue or say, well, I only care about the battles or I only care about the story, that's not really appreciating all of what Undertale has to offer. So, if you're like my brother, whenever I tell you his opinion on Radiant Dawn, you're not gonna get very far in this game. You really have to pay attention to the entire experience. The graphics, the music, the dialogue, every single thing is placed there for a reason, and when it all clicks at the finale, you're just like, whoa, this is a really incredible experience. Now, granted, at first this game kind of gave me mixed feelings, because it sort of has that it wants to tell you something deeper, but doesn't always make it abundantly clear what it's trying to say at first. But if you're the type that loves thought-provoking games that aren't incredibly story-driven, but aren't incredibly non-story-driven either, then I think Undertale is going to be a masterpiece for you. However, if you're one of those game-only, I hate story, then I would recommend you look up some footage of very early in the game and just see like, okay, I'm okay with this style of humor. And then maybe give it a try. It's definitely not one of those automatic buy types of games, but if you're the type that doesn't really have a care in the world and really enjoys games that give you a lot of freedom from a narrative standpoint, then I think you're going to want to flip out and get to Undertale immediately. Now, the last question I'm going to answer, and again, I'm sorry if I've spoiled too much, is should you buy it again if you have already played it on other platforms besides the Switch? My answer is probably not. The Switch version doesn't really add anything new to the table that have been in other versions. Granted, I haven't really played them. But it doesn't even take advantage of HD Rumble. There's one instance where it, like, tries to, but not really. And pretty much the only basic thing that the Switch version adds over the PC is the fact that you can take it anywhere. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, Undertale has some amazingly funny writing, plus some surprisingly good production values. Like, sure, it comes across as very simple and Shovel Knight-esque at first, but eventually you find some really interesting instrumentations, including some piano, violin, and even some jazz pieces. And then there are some parts of the game that even go beyond the simple aesthetics, and you're just like, oh, I see why this game is on a more powerful system and why it couldn't have been made, like, on an earlier generation of consoles. Well, with that, that's all I'm going to say on Undertale for now. I hope you'll check it out for yourself, and stay tuned for my Catholic review, which, if everything goes as planned, I plan on releasing it simultaneously along with this review, because this game definitely is going to make you think, and boy did it make me think. In fact, it almost made me cry, and usually that doesn't happen with too many games like this. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and if you ever question if God loves you or not, then play this game, because he definitely loves you. Bye!